So all of that started as well. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gliding Australia All Members meeting for Wednesday, the 8th of April, 2026. And tonight we have representing our departments is David Villiers for Airworthiness, Aaron Stroop for Operations, Craig Vinal for Soaring Development, and Drew McKinney for Safety Management. Just some of the housekeeping things for tonight. You will probably find that there is a chat and a Q&A. I'll be monitoring that as we go along and I'm doing the presentation slides. At the end, we will have our time for our questions and answers. So put them in there and we'll try to answer them. If we can answer them as we're going, we will do that. But if we can't, we'll leave them to the end to cover off everything there. The meeting is being recorded. So if you don't want to be recorded or participate in a recorded event, please leave now. And the meeting will be for our first time that we've been doing this actually properly on YouTube, as we've now got full control of our YouTube channel again. So that's where it's going to go and be kept. So with that, I'm going to start the meeting and I'll share the slide deck for tonight. Hopefully you can all see the slides that there at the moment. Yep, I can see thumbs up from the group. Okay, that's our agenda for tonight. We've just gone through and we'll just did the welcome. We'll go through this agenda that I'm doing now. At 8:05, once I've finished doing this, Drew McKinney will take over and talk about our Safer Skies, Stronger Clubs event that's happening in Queensland in a week's time. After that will be our Airworthiness presentation by David Villiers, followed by Operations with Aaron Stroop. Craig will then lead us with Soaring Development, and by that stage we'll be up to general questions and Q&A in the chat that we've got to deal with. Hopefully we'll be finished, well, we will be finished by 10 o'clock. Everybody's got to go to bed, or if you're in Western Australia, you've got to have dinner. And we would encourage you to do that while the meeting's running as well. So Drew, I'll pass the meeting over to you to speak.
Okay, thanks for that. Yes, weekend after next at the Allan Border Field in Brisbane, the pavilion's there. We're holding the Safer Skies, Stronger Clubs event. I just want to stress a couple of things. I know some people have not taken up and registered yet, and some people are intending to. We really do want to see this as a well-supported event, and there's a dual focus, and it's about facing some of the viability and cost pressures and risks and challenges for clubs and our membership, and also giving a bit of an update on where we are with safety performance. Getting very bad feedback from someone here. Right. It's open to everyone. Please, it's not just CFIs and club presidents. Anyone and everyone can come. No matter how junior or senior or brand new or seasoned and well established in gliding, it's open for everyone. CASA are going to be there. There's going to be a good contingent, including Steve Fickling, who's looking after our sporting aviation interests, and the sector safety risk profile team, and they'll be helping us with a bit of a workshop. They're sponsoring us big time, and part of that sponsorship dollars will allow us to record some of the sessions for later upload to YouTube for those who cannot attend. It won't be live streamed. The cost of audio visual live and that contract support is eye-wateringly high. So we're deliberately recording, and after the event we'll upload those presentations. Keynote speakers, we got some of the best. Yeah, you know, the Jeff Browns and Sid Deckers of the world. We've got James Nugent and Anthony Smith will be talking about the burning questions about the future of towing operations and LSA tugs and boardies. We'll be getting some good cultural insights from those folks. Jeff Brown as well, Sophie Curio, Mariella and Steve, of course. So it's broad ranging and it's intended to meet your emerging needs about the burning issues affecting the viability of your own clubs and the movement as a whole. We do have to do things differently, and that'll be part of the exploration. So I commend it to you all. There is a pre-event survey, and the link is up there. It is in the CASA consultation hub under the gliding SSRP. Copy the link if you like. That is going to inform some risk bow tie diagrams and risk analysis to verify our priorities. That's it. Out of it.
Thank you, Drew. I'm now going to pass it over to Dave Villiers, who's unmuted, I'm sure now. Yes, he is.
Yep.
And David, it's over to you for Airworthiness.
Okay. If you could, the subjects I'm going to go through today are all fairly common, I suspect. Form 2 periodicity has been an issue over the last couple of months, with a few people having been caught out. There's been a new document come out of Europe on rigging issues and control connections. Recently, TOST releases and rings have popped to the fore. And I'll also talk about some issues around canopy latches, particularly Astias. And I'll wrap up with a quick progress report on where we are with publications. So moving right along. Annual inspections to the GEOS Form 2 are required every 12 months or 250 hours time in service. Now that's in MOSP 3 9.3.4, and it's been there for years. The 250 hours time in service requirement was introduced when it was realised that there were a few gliders doing considerably more than 100 hours or so in 12 months. And so we put a limit of 250 hours on. And the reason for that is simply that the default maintenance program, Form 2, is not designed to ensure that the ongoing airworthiness of an aircraft that's doing that many hours in a year. It's simply designed around an aircraft doing 12 months and up to 100 hours per year. So we've put 250 hours on it, and there's not many aircraft getting up there, but there are maybe half a dozen in the last 12 months or so that have exceeded 250 hours in a 12-month period. Next slide, please, Dave. There are other maintenance systems which can be used to maintain a high-use glider. And if you've got one, there's a manufacturer system maintenance you can use, and that's the one that's in the aircraft's maintenance manual, and some variation of either Form 2 or the system of maintenance in the aircraft maintenance manual. And all changes have to be documented in advance in a logbook statement. Again, read the appropriate section of MOSP 3, and that tells you what to do and when. The system of maintenance, if it's not Form 2, has to be approved by the EMA, Dennis Stacey, and approval is not automatic. If I were to go there and try to get a system of maintenance based on the manufacturer's maintenance scheme from my LaBelle, Dennis would surely tell me where to get off, because there's nothing in an LaBelle flight manual that gives you anything near a system of maintenance. So there's very little in some of the older aircraft manuals. And if there is something, then there's a subject for discussion. So if you want a new system of maintenance, by all means, talk to Dennis, because the system has to be developed between the registered operator, the registration holder, and the EMO. And as I said, approval is not automatic, but we are open to changing it. If you have an aircraft that does a lot of hours in a year, please talk to Dennis. Next one. Okay, rigging and control connections. This is one that I've been concerned about for some time. And we've had a few issues that have popped up in the last 2 years that I've been in the job on sailplane rigging and misrigging of controls. Obviously, the problem has come up in Europe as well because EASA have reissued their Safety Information Bulletin 2019-07. They've raised it to R1, Vision 1. We've republished that here as AN 178 and it's on our website and it's well worth a read. A figure in that absolutely appalled me. In Europe, there are 3 or 4 fatalities each year that can be attributed to a misrigged glider or misrigged controls. Now, part of the reason for that is a lot of European clubs rig off the glider, off the trailer for each day's flying. And so there's a lot of rigging and de-rigging that we perhaps don't do. But they still have a serious problem with rigging and misrigged gliders. In Australia, there are many such instances as well, but fortunately, no recent fatalities as yet. Next, please, David. There's a GIOS Airworthiness Alert out, 2021-3. Photo there shows you the issue. 2 lucky pilots this time. It happened on tow, and when the wings went funny, they're able to land straight ahead. Clean underpants all around, I suspect. But the issue is there. The next slide, I think, please, Dave. There are many opportunities for misrigging, as you all know, and particularly misconnection of controls. The hoteliers are a perennial concern, and Polish Jantar connections have been turning up. In a couple of cases, I've issued documents with almost the same diagrams there that you see. And there are many other old systems as well. The SIB, that's AN 178, has a lot of useful information and should be highlighted to all daily inspectors. So if you have a system where you can get out to your daily inspectors and point this out to them, if they haven't already realised it, there's a trove of valuable information in that AN that is well worth passing on to anybody who rigs, de-rigs and does DIs on gliders. Next one, please, Dave. Okay. The TOST E22 release is a lightweight release fitted to the ASG29 and probably amongst others. It's not as rigid as other releases and has a larger gap at the point of the hook. Now, you can see in that photo there, the small ring is only held into that hook by a very small amount. It seems to be there is a problem there in that there have been at least one and maybe more cases where a ring has fallen out of an E22 release before the load came on, and there has been at least one case of an uncommanded release. It seems to be sensitive to the diameter of the steel of the small tossed ring. So next, please, Dave. The spec for the small ring specifies a diameter of 6.7 to 7 millimeters on the diameter of the steel. That's the 2 little blue arrows there. That's the manufacturing limit that's given by TOST, but rings will wear in service and get below this. There have been a number of cases where rings have been found to be quite small. How much smaller, we don't know. I've sent a survey out about 2 weeks ago to all clubs, asking them to measure the diameter of the small ring on the rings they have in use. To date, I've had 71 ring pairs reported. Of those, 7 have been outside tolerance, 6 under tolerance, 6 less than 6.7 mils, and interestingly, 1 above 7. But the issue here is the vast majority of 90% of them are within those limits, 6.7 to 7 millimeters. I still need a lot more responses. I believe there's a lot more than 71 sets of rings being used out there. I've had responses from all regions, but not a huge number of clubs. We've asked TOST what the limit is on the size of that ring, and all they do is parrot back to us the specification that you see there. That's one of their drawings, saying 6.7 to 7 mils. I can't imagine that all rings will stay at that length for long, particularly if they're being used on a macadam or concrete surface. So please, if you have the ability to get your club to respond, please get them to measure those rings. We don't yet specify the minimum size of a TOST ring to be used in GEO's documentation. We have an informal requirement, not yet written down, that you use the rings that meet the requirements of TOST. I expect when I get the responses from a number of clubs that I'll be in a position to decide what diameter we would accept as a minimum. But at present, the indications are the TOST figures are not unreasonable. We only have about 10% of them that have seen so far that are undersized. Next one, please, David. Okay, the Astaire canopy latch. There has been a couple of cases of canopies opening in flight recently, some with dreadful consequences. And so we did a review of uncommanded canopy openings since September 2011 using our own reporting system, SOAR reports basically. And in that time, there have been 59 instances of canopies coming open in flight. Now, 25 of those seem to be the result of interrupted pre-takeoff checks. And we all know better than that, but it still happens. But there have been several other causes identified. But of concern to me in airworthiness is that 30% of them, 18 of the 59, involved Astaire types, both single and two-seaters. Astaires have a simple, easily maintained canopy latch system, which is easily seen by pilots. And until I saw these figures, I'd have said it was probably a very reliable, idiot-proof system, but it is obviously not foolproof. Next one. Okay, the canopy latch is standard across most Astaire types, both single and two-seaters. The latch uses a sliding bar, which is the grey bar on top here, which pushes pins through 3 cylinders, 2 which are attached to the canopy frame and 1 to the fuselage. When the canopy is opened, the pin is removed from the right-hand 2 cylinders and left in the 3rd one, and the canopy can be opened. The latch seems very simple and reliable, but there have been too many instances of Astaire canopies opening in flight, and that means the canopies have not been latched. Now, there'll be this will be addressed later. I think David's going to talk about this, but in the interim, we need to be thinking about the airworthiness aspects that might be causing this problem. Next one, please, Dave. There are a few defects which could cause this problem. Failure of the spring there, you see the little spring that holds the canopy in the closed position, the latch in the closed position. Poor lubrication, that bar on which the red knob and the spring are mounted slides fore and aft through a number of cylinders, and poor lubrication in those things could cause stiffness. If the cylinders are misaligned, you can see there that the one in the picture is held on by 3 screws. It could move. If the bar has got bent, if there is corrosion on the pins or on the bar, if there's dirt or paint or other crap causing jamming, and obviously temperature effects. A canopy latch that works perfectly in a nice shady hangar may not work anywhere near as well when it's been soaked in a 45-degree day inside a closed canopy. Any of these could result in the stiffness and failure of the latch to seat itself properly. The solution to these problems for an airworthiness perspective are appropriate maintenance and functional checks at Form 2 and DI. I will leave the operational issues to the operations people, but from an airworthiness respect, there are a number of things that we can all be doing, and if you are doing a DI on an Astaire or doing an annual inspection on an Astaire or just having a fiddle with a canopy. These are things that can be checked and can be worked on. And if you find something wrong, fix it. Thank you. And if you find something wrong, put it in a maintenance release. Next, please, Dave. Okay, airworthiness publications. Basic sail plan engineering is in the process of being updated. Primarily, it's to correct, or started out, to correct procedures on release maintenance in Chapter 16. There were some inconsistencies between Chapter 16 in BSE and Chapter 13 in MOSP 3. The chapter on radios and FLAM has been amended, and a new chapter on FLAM and electronic conspicuity devices has been added. A chapter on batteries has been updated, and the BSE has been reordered to collect similar subjects together. Previously, all the various subjects were scattered throughout the book in more or less random order. They've been collected together now, so that if you're looking for issues on, say, structures and those sorts of issues, they'll all be together one after another in the new book. The publication is currently undergoing a final review by the regional managers Airworthiness and will be published shortly. And by that mean a couple of months. I've given them to the end of the month to get back to me. Next one, please, Dave. Okay. Many of you will have seen the syllabus for the basic daily inspection in Unit 42 of the GPC syllabus. That was pretty initial, shall we say. It was the first go at it. We've had the airworthiness guys sit down and we have gone through it, and we've come up with a new syllabus. We've run that through the formal GOS publication amendment process and is now been approved by both Ops, Safety, in addition to airworthiness, and has been put forward for the new, when GPC syllabus is updated. Unit 42 will have the new syllabus in it. And we're in workers in hand to develop syllabuses for the pilot maintenance modules, which could be appended to the basic DO rating. I've got a couple of those done already, and the RMAs tell me they've just about finished several more of them. So those will come out very shortly as well. Okay, next. Okay, that's me done. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And if you have questions for Airworthiness and for David, please put them in the Q&A. You can see there's a button up the top there for Q&A. It's preferable than the chat. The chat becomes a bit cluttered with other sort of issues that are going on. I'm going to pass the meeting back now to Aaron Stroop to lead us through the operations area.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So the first, you can see here roughly what we're going to go through over the next few slides. So if you'd like to go to the next slide, Dave, which is the SOAR reports.
Yeah.
Incidents for over the season. So you can see from October 2025 through to March of 26, we've had 117 reports. And if we look at the injuries from those reports, we can see that 109 of them had no injuries, 4 had some minor injuries, 2 had fairly serious injuries, and unfortunately we had 2 fatalities. This was a really bad start to the season. We had 4 major accidents, and of which 2 were fatal 2 days apart in the beginning of the season, which has kind of left us in a pretty horrible state of mind, but we sort of worked through that. So Doug, do you want to go to the next one?
Do you want to say about damage as well?
Yes. So 38% or 44 of them were, I'm not quite sure how you've done this. That was serious damage, and 34 of them were just sort of minor damage.
Yeah, so what that was is 44 were actually included damage, but 34 of them were minor. So 10 of them were major damage. Okay. Next one.
Okay, so here we've got some classifications of where the SOAR reports or the accidents were occurring. So The first one was landing related, of which 39% of them, or 46, were in the landing related. Ground handling was 21 incidents, or 18%, and airspace and air prox was 22. I want to specify here that there should be absolutely zero airspace infringements when it comes to gliding. We kind of know where the airspaces are, but people are still breaching it at a fairly alarming rate in certain areas. So, try to go back to your clubs and make sure that, airspace around your club is well known and people stay away from it. Air prox is obviously close encounters with other aircraft in that part, and we did have at least one mid-air collision during the season between some gliders at a competition, but both gliders landed safely and they were very, very lucky. So the next one is the launch, towing and winching, which was 16 or 14%. Technical or mechanical was 19 of those, and that represents 16%, and outlanding was 10%. So the key safety conclusions here is landing phase dominates the risks, outlandings drive consequences and not incident counts, and ground handling is under appreciated. So what we're finding is we're still getting lots and lots and lots of ground handling incidents, people towing gliders into stupid things like the side of hangars or cars or other aircraft. So we kind of need to work on that a fair bit and try and be a bit more aware of our surroundings when we're doing things around the airfield. Did you want to add anything to that, Dave?
No, that's pretty well it. The outlandings are quite low in percentage wise, but the consequences of those are quite high. The damage to the aircraft is expensive. That drives all of our insurances up, and that's something that affects all of us as pilots in clubs or having your own private glider. So that's a very important thing to look at. So we got some things to work on during this year coming up.
Okay, next one. Okay, new instructor training application and assessment forms. The problem that we've had for quite some time now is that the forms themselves have been a bit outdated and not very useful. So Dave's been working away quite beavering away there in the background, and we've now got a whole new set of forms that are now in place. So they're now actually already starting to work in some of the training. So we have a new application for air experience instructor training, and then there's the actual assessment forms and so forth. Do you want to go to the next one, Dave?
Yep.
Okay, and this applies to level 1 instructor training and also level 2 and level 3. So the whole suite has been updated, and so these are the new forms that are in use from now on. Okay, if you want to keep going.
Well, the key part in this one that I'd like to highlight is that there is club preparation, and that's an important part of getting our instructors ready. And you can see that each form in the application level has a tick box and the things that's got to be done at club level before that. And some of the really dumb things that need to be done is, well, if you've got an instructor coming up, organise their medical. Get the medical changed from a self-declaration to either a GP medical or a CASA medical that's applicable for them, so that when they actually finish their training, they're ready to go. But it's silly when we actually finish the whole training and then the guy spends a whole month trying to get their medicals organised because of the requirements there. So a little bit of preparation is important there as well. We're finding candidates coming through that don't have GPCs, for example, different things like that. Let's make sure we've got all the paperwork, as you'll see in the next section, covered off. These forms now are also aligned with the training manual, and they fit in with the assessments, and the syllabus now matches in with what we've got in the training manual itself for all those level instructors. Next one, Aaron.
Yes, the unglamorous side of paperwork everyone can read, so I don't need to probably read all this out. One of the things that's been quite noticeable at a few places is that there seems to be a bit of a misnomer about the AEF forms. Some clubs seem to have them electronically, some have them in paperwork form. Some clubs kind of have this thing where they do the flight and then they fill in the form later. Other clubs have forgotten to fill in the form completely. But at the end of the day, if that form hasn't been filled in and you take someone for an AEF flight and something happens, you're in deep shit. It really, there's no excuses. The form has to be completed before the flight, not after. So if you've got multiple people flying at a, come to the club and they want to fly, they all have to have the form filled out before they go for the flight. So it's important not just that the duty pilot actually make sure that that's flight, but if you're the instructor that's going to be conducting that flight, you really should check to make sure that that has been completed and filled out. It's kind of a bit of a growing problem, and we need to stop it now before it gets too far out of hand. Tow pilots, the valid medical and flight crew license and the completion of all the syllabus, and that formal approval needs to be done by the EMO. So that's Dave. Dave actually has to approve their appointment as a tow pilot before they can start to do any towing at all. We've had some situations where people have done some tow pilot training and then they go out and they start flying the tug, and we discover they don't have the correct medicals, or they don't have the EMO's approval to actually do it. So the other part to deal with medicals is that the medicals must be current and in Just Go. Okay, we're moving more and more towards the Just Go system, and that's really our only way to see if people actually have certain things. It's pretty hard for us to go back and kind of try to find logbook entries and so forth. So if you've got any medicals, make sure that they go into Just Go. If you do, and just even with any other endorsements that you have, make sure that they're in Just Go. The other thing is maintenance releases, that they're filled out correctly and checked each flight. We're getting a heap of this stuff that's where people are flying gliders that Form 2s have expired, and they're being DI'd by people that should know better. So just make sure that is correct and that's filled in. The paperwork side of it really is part of the safety culture for us, and we have to make sure that it's all right before you get in and start doing any of the flying. So that's the important bit. Do you want to add anything, Dave?
Well, since we've been Part 149, the CASA audit that we had, in the last few months, or Christmas time, around about before Christmas, I think, it was, very obvious to us that that's an important part of being a Part 149 organisation, keeping the records in shape, and that's checked when we're audited. And our process of keeping the records in place to match against pilots' logbooks is a process that's checked as part of that as well. So yeah, moving on.
Okay. Did you want to talk to this one, Dave?
Well, we've got, at various times of the year, we get pilots that are flying, but they're not actually members of Gliding Australia, and sometimes they're not members of their gliding club itself. You've got to be a member of the gliding club and a member of Gliding Australia to fly gliders in Australia. It's law. It's simply, that's the rules to do it. If you're not doing that, you're putting yourself at risk. So that's an important thing, to make sure you got your membership up to date. You'll get notified 2 times at least, if I remember rightly, and it tells you that your membership is due to be renewed. And if you're having a problem at all, just call the office or email the office at returns@glidingaustralia.org, and we'll be happy to help you with your membership and fix it up for you. The other thing I'd like to highlight is insurance. And I get a lot of questions in my job about, are we insured to do this? Are we insured to do whatever? There's a really good document, and it's in the admin section of the documents under insurance, surprisingly. And it's called Explaining Insurance, and it was updated in May 2025. Originally, it was written by previous Treasurer Dave Shorter, and Chris Bowman, our previous one to Alison Swart, now has updated this document. And it covers things that you are probably interested in. What are the risks and liabilities that are covered? What are the actual insurance policies that Gliding Australia holds? What is the BBL and what does it actually do for us? What is the contingent liability, hanger keeper liability, and the administration policy that covers the administrative officers and people involved in those roles in clubs and Gliding Australia. Gliding Australia has got a group hanger keeper liability policy. So have a look at that. You can put together a whole bunch of guys together and put a policy together, and this helps you to do that. And then there's insurance policies for clubs and private owners, as Alex explained. A lot of people think that the tugs might be covered by BBLs or other insurances. No, they're not. So read this document and understand more about what it is. Fire, general insurance for clubs. All of these are covered in that document. It's a very useful document to read. Okay, back to you, Aaron.
Okay, so we've got our panel meeting coming up shortly. I can't remember the date, end of May.
Yeah.
End of May, first bit of June. And so some of the items that we'll be discussing is solo student supervision, type conversions, reduced G training in Unit 12, which includes slow flight and stalling, actions and checks and flows. So there seems to be a whole lot of stuff at the moment going on in different clubs, and what we're trying to do is to try and standardize things across the board. So we've got some clubs that are doing card checks, and then other clubs that don't do card checks, and then other clubs that do a kind of a mixture of a card check, and then there's others that kind of do something different, and it's becoming very confusing. And so we need to try and standardize that. And we're going to be looking at chaotic and similar, and also fussed in the same respect, to try and standardize those across the board. So that's one of the main discussions that we'll be having. The roles for ground roles for our aging instructors, and we just Dave and I before the meeting were just discussing a situation where we've got a relatively small club that is starting to look at maybe they need to have a ground CFI, because they don't have the ability to have another CFI because they don't have anyone at that level, but we don't want to see them disappear. So that whole area about aging instructors needs to be discussed. And building up an air simulation into the GPC units, e.g. rope breaks and consequences, instead of having to do it all of it at low altitude, which actually sets up a muscle memory. We're looking at increasing the height that we do that, and doing that at altitude, so we can do a lot of the training at altitude, which is safe, and then not create unwanted muscle memory. We've had situations where people have had very low level rope breaks, and then they just immediately turn back because all of their training has been at a height that is a turn back. So we're trying to avoid that sort of thing. Later in the year, we've got a number of manuals that we wish to update. We've got the winching manual, which is in current process at the moment of being updated, the aerotow manual, and the GPC manuals, which we did promise would be updated on a yearly basis. But unfortunately, the workload has been such that that kind of hasn't happened, but there has been some work going on in the background with those manuals as we speak. Do you want to add anything here, Dave?
Nothing to that one, but we're at the end of our group. I was just going to add a little bit about the Austere OSB that we're writing as a group.
Oh, yeah, that's not on here.
So this started when I was doing some investigation for other reasons, and I started to look around the world to see why Austeres potentially showed in those numbers that I mentioned. So I looked at 2011 through, which was the beginning of our soil reports, all the way through to current date, and I included in the numbers that we've got 2 incidences in New Zealand that were highlighted to me as well. So it's not just Australia where this happens; it happens in other countries around the world as well. And we all got together, as David mentioned, and so we looked at it from an airworthiness perspective. We looked at it from an operations perspective and a safety perspective, and now we're producing an OSB on that. It's gotten interesting because the standard Cirrus as well has the same opening system on it, and so I've started to look at that to try and find out what that looks like and what it includes. So I was alerted to that one last week and adding that in there. And apart from so I also got in touch with the type certificate holder, and I got an illustrated parts list for that. So if anybody's got parts that need to be replaced for that, we've got the ability of ordering the parts by the part number from the actual type certificate holder, possibly with that. A lot of those canopies, as we'd all agree, have been blown open with the wind at certain periods of their life and all sorts of things. We're talking gliders from the late 70s, 80s, that sort of period. And when they've been refitted again, they're not quite fitting properly. And as David alluded to, there's a lot of little issues that can occur in the age of what we're dealing with. If you look at an Austere fitting, there's usually been paint there, and quite near where those cylinders are and the rods going through, you can actually see a line of paint in some of them, and other ones you can see that it's been worn away and it's not there. So we're looking at all sorts of things to try and figure out from an ops perspective how we can make it obvious from the outside that the canopy might be not closed correctly, and from the inside of how to do that. But stay tuned, that OSB will be finished and looked at by all the departments and out as soon as possible. That's it for us, Aaron.
I think so, yep.
Craig, where are you?
Yes, good evening, everyone, and thanks for attending. Now, I've turned my video off because I've had it drop out a couple of times for bandwidth issues. So I think this might be the safest way to make sure you can hear me and the presentation continues. So we're almost at the end, I think, of the Australian 25-26 season. And again, there were mixed results in terms of attendance at competitions. This is something that we've been addressing for at least the last 3 years, is attendance levels at national competitions. We started with the club class at Kingaroy, and Kingaroy was meant to also host the 2-seat nationals as well, but there were insufficient entries. And so you can see that the 2-seat was held at Narromine in March. And we really didn't have what you'd say would be robust entries at Kingaroy for that event. These things have been of concern of late, ever really since after COVID. And we're trying to do things that will entice people to come along to these competitions. You might recall that with club class, we always had sports class, but we decided to delete sports class 2 years ago and combine club class with 2-seat nationals in a sense of reducing the number of national competitions by at least one. The multi-class at Leeton was better attended. We almost had all 4 classes fully subscribed, but again, 15 metre in terms of 15 metre and standard class seem to be a class that's difficult now to fill. We struggle to get people to attend to have two separate classes for 15 metre and standard. Again, they were combined. And then the two-seat nationals were held in March at Narromine. So I think the next, the NCC have put out requests for hosts for next season's competitions, and we haven't been bowled over with clubs interested in holding these competitions. It will be announced shortly which clubs are hosting those competitions. But I think this is probably an effect of the tug situation and tug availability that might be affecting how those competitions are populated by competition, by contestants. But again, I think with the multi-class at Leeton, one of the aspects of that competition was a lot of publicity and spruiking to get people to attend. I think that seems to be, in combination with location, time of the year, those are the things which are going to most likely attract stronger fields. We had coaching events in each region. What I would say for this evening is that we're obviously keen to continue recruiting silver coaches. If there are people out there that have instructor ratings, AEI ratings, and are current in cross country, then we'd really encourage people to get that silver coach rating. There are courses that are run in each state where we do silver coach training, but you don't need to attend one of those courses to get that rating. If you would get in contact with your region's Soaring Development Manager, you can arrange that rating with the Soaring Development Manager. And there were a number of state championships in each state and a number of regional competitions that were strongly attended. I attended the Horsham competition, which again seems to be consistent in attracting people. It's an event that is at a set time each year, and so everyone's able to get it into their diary each year, knowing when it's going to be held. Next slide, Dave. You there, Dave? Yeah, sorry. The next important event for our competition pilots will be the World Comps that are coming up in Poland, and for the juniors in Germany. You can see the people who are representing Australia in each of the classes. Team captain for the seniors in Poland will be Phil Ritchie. And we have two juniors have been selected and offered positions, and I understand are both intending to attend in Germany, with Mandy Temple being the team captain. This year we had a squad week, which was a week of flying at Tokemall. That's the first time that's been done for a long time, certainly since the COVID period. Obviously, the COVID period disrupted squad week significantly, and squad week tended to be a weekend of get together and talking, whereas this time it was a great event. All of or as many of the participants who could, or the selected pilots who could attend, did, along with the team captains and a number of juniors or upcoming pilots that are likely to be selected in years to come were also invited to attend. So again, that was an event that was run by Pete Temple, and quite a successful event. So obviously we wish all of those pilots the best of luck. I know it's an expensive process going to these world competitions. Through the Soaring Development Levy that we impose on each of the national competitors and state competitors, we have a fund that provides some money to pilots, but it is only around $5,000 per pilot, and it is well in excess of probably $30,000 to $40,000 for each pilot to attend these world comps. So again, we wish them the best of luck, and no doubt everyone will be interested in following their fortunes in those competitions. Can you go to the next slide? Thanks, Dave. We had some national rule changes. This season we introduced the distance handicap tasking, which was an attempt to provide a racing style task, but where the distances varied based on the glider's handicap. The reason for proposing this was to ensure that lower performance gliders, because all the competitions in Australia are handicapped competitions, but to try and encourage lower performance gliders and to also have racing tasks where they're, obviously the larger ships will get around very quickly, but lower performance gliders may spend an hour or more on task for a set or fixed racing task. And obviously that can occur in deteriorating conditions. So the hope with the distance handicap tasking is that it provides a task distant based on handicap that will mean that all of the gliders should complete the task in approximately the same time. We did have something similar to this in the Formula One, where there are a number of different circles for people to touch. But unfortunately, the soaring spot system, scoring system, doesn't deal with that particularly well. So hence, there's been some great work done by Nick Gilbert and Neil Campbell in setting this up. And I'd recommend people to have a look at the website that Nick's put together, which is the Help DH Task, which explains for both competition organisers and for competitors how the system works. Now, I know it's obviously a little difficult for people, particularly with older instrumentation, but there is a lot of information on this site that might assist you, or at least ease your concerns about loading these tasks onto your instrument. If you go to the next slide, what I've got here is a competition day from Horsham, which shows a DHT task, and the red task line is the scratch task line. That's the 18-metre gliders would be flying that particular task. The blue task is an LS8, which is, instead of the 245 kilometres, is 226. The green line was an open Jantar, which its task requirement was 218 kilometres. And the dark blue line was a DG 500, which only had to fly 212 kilometres. And so you can see in these competitions, it's simply the time. Obviously, the person who completes the task in the lowest possible time is going to be the winner for the day. But you can see that it means that for lower performance gliders, they're not spending as much time on task as what they would if they had to fly the scratch distance. So we're hoping that this might even up the field a little bit. It might encourage people with lower performance gliders to get involved in this form of competition. It's early days yet. I'd certainly encourage any people involved in competitions next year to look at the website and to talk to Nick Gilbert about how to set these things up. A lot of assistance can be provided by Neil Campbell and Nick to assist you in putting these formats together. I certainly found it very easy because most gliders you can download your cut file, and in the case of those that have got Wi-Fi adapted systems, it's downloaded via the internet, or if you want, you can download it onto an SD card inserted into your instrument. It takes a little bit of learning to use, and I think that's probably where most of the resistance might be in this system, but I think it's a matter of give it a go. And if it improves the number of people attending competitions, all the good. Next slide. So with national rule changes, obviously a lot of competitions have pilot meetings where things are discussed, but we'd encourage anyone who has suggestions for rule changes to email them to the NCC, and particularly to the chair of the NCC, Lumpy Patterson. We've got a number of proposals already for rule changes. It's this time of the year where those changes can be made and the national rules will be updated. So certainly if there's any issues that people have, really encourage you to email them in. And likewise, if there are any issues in relation to scoring systems, then I'd very much encourage people to contact Lumpy, or certainly contact me if you have any concerns. And I think that might be the last slide. Yes, thank you.
Sure is. So it's back to Drew to do another advert for the Safer Skies and Stronger Clubs.
Please encourage participation. I think it will be value add for a lot of people, and make it as wide as possible. Yes, there will be opportunity to have a couple of drinks with key people in CASA and Gliding Australia and good speakers.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Drew. So we're up to questions, and I'll read out some of the oldest ones first and direct them to the appropriate executive. So the first one's from Greg Newbold, and it says, and this is for you, David Villiers, will the DI GPC syllabus incorporate the expanded motor glider privileges?
The short answer is no. The syllabus in the GPC at present is the very basic unpowered glider DI ticket. It does not include the extra privileges that come from pilot maintenance, and we're generating extra. Well, not extra. We're producing the syllabus that will allow people to be trained against those and to have those entries put into their logbook as being qualified. Motor glider stuff is still coming. It takes a bit of time to do this stuff, and motor glider stuff is something which I'm unable to drive because I don't have any of the requirements for a motor glider, but we will move it on.
Thank you, David. The second question was from Jane Airy, and it says, "Hi, David, can you please send me a copy of the survey requirements?" I'm not sure. I think that might be
that's
the
the
one.
TOST one, and I've already sent it to her.
Okay, so that's you've handled that one, David.
Yep.
Good. And I encourage you to add any more questions if you like. Our last question was from Guy Waddle, and he said, even if a canopy has been checked and double checked and independently checked that it has been locked, have you found canopies opening in flight? And the short answer to that is yes. That's we're talking about austere canopies in that particular case.
Yeah. Well, it applies to any canopy, and the problem is when you make 2 or 3 people responsible for something, then nobody's responsible.
Yeah.
It is the pilot's responsibility to make sure the canopy is closed and locked. Anybody else doing it is free, but it doesn't add to the safety, and in fact it can harm safety, because if the pilot is relying on someone else to do an additional check, then that's a gap in the cheese that we can have a problem come through.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, David. Craig, this is a question from Drew McKinney to Craig. What's the intent on canopy flashes for visual I can never say that word.
Conspicuity.
and the timing of that. So this is for you, Craig.
So the IGC have mandated canopy flashes or flashes. I'm not sure that they're just limited to flashes. I think the flashes can be located in the fin, on the base of the glider, near the wheel well, or in the front of the canopy. So clearly, if you're going to fly in the Worlds, or you're going to loan your glider for someone to fly in the Worlds, you'll need to have a canopy flasher. In Australia, we've encouraged people to use canopy flashes, but we've not mandated it. And at this stage, the NCC have not put any deadlines or timelines on mandating canopy flashes. So they're not going to be, there's certainly no intent to mandate them in competitions in Australia at this stage. I think there's probably some value in seeing how these flashes do perform in international competitions. I know there's a lot of gliders that have them fitted, but I suppose we were concerned of putting a further constraint on competition pilots, having to fit their gliders with these flashes without yet any definite indication that they have a safety benefit. I think that's probably the best way I can put it. But again, if people have got different views, I very much encourage you to perhaps get in contact with me or with Lumpy Patterson on that issue.
And if you're thinking of fitting a flasher in your glider, I refer you to the new issue of Basic Sail Plan Engineering, which has a chapter in it from the old version, which addresses safety flashes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys for that one. Is there any more questions we've got from the audience there? I'll give it a half a minute to see what we've got. We've been very lucky tonight. We've got 73 people in the audience. That's a great rollout. And I thank you all for giving your time to listen to this. And I'm sure it's been informative. So as there's no more questions that have come in, I'm going to call the meeting to a close. Is there any last remarks from our executive? No?
Not from me.
Okay, we're all good. All right then. Well, thank you everyone, and I will stop the recording, and we'll see you next time.
Right.
Good night, and thank you for your
Good night
time.
all.